Welcome to the Fold Mysteries, where we seek to discover everything that lies between the folds of reality. Abe, stop laughing at me. Did you see that? That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, you pulled it off. And it goes
Get out
down
of
the phone. Oh, man.
So,
Yes.
once again, you're back, so thank you for that. So tell me, any new things going on with you?
Well, this past week, gosh, can you believe it was already weeks since we, had did our last show. And at the last show, I apologize for everybody that was having trouble hearing me, but I think we may have fixed that problem, that issue right now. However, while I was up north at my team member Pops' place, Pops has been a guest on here a while back, a few months back. We always have a great time together, even when we're just hanging around and stuff like that. But we went out to a few different locations where there's some Bigfoot activity and things like that. I think we probably hit about three locations. In one of our locations last July, I was on my way out there, and I just hopped on real quick to do some recording, and a wolf crosses right in front of me. And I was just like, whoa, I got goosebumps just talking about it. And so that was really cool. I went back out to this location, and I left the tree camera up out there over the winter. Of course, the SD card was already full. Batteries are dead. So I just had to switch out the batteries and put a new SD card in there. And we have what's called a sebum collection plate. Basically, what sebum is like fingerprints. It comes out of the pores of the fingerprints from Bigfoot, I guess you could say. And so my good friend Doug Hychek, he's like, hey, you should put a couple of these out in the area. So what we did is we put these plates out there. They're blue in coloration. They're very high glossy and shiny where one can see their own reflection. On that as well, we also put hook side of Velcro in hopes of getting any possible hair snakes if one was to touch it or something like that. And it's smooth, so if one was to touch its own image or reflection, it would hopefully grab that, and we could dust that and lift it and send them off for testing or whatever. Also, if something were to take it, there's also a GPS tracker on there as well. So went out there and changed the batteries in the SD card, and it was rainy. I had the tracker in my pocket, but I forgot the silicone sleeve that protects it from rain and stuff like that. So I thought it was in my vehicle, and I took another vehicle while we were out there. So we go back to the vehicle. I'm like, gee whiz, so I got to make another trip out there to put the silicone sleeve and the tracker on the sebum collection plate. And it's probably about 3.5 hours from where I live to go up north to do that. So we did that. We didn't get any activity as far as vocalizations or knocks or anything like that. There's still flurries being seen up in northern Minnesota. I left up there yesterday about 11:18, and as I was leaving, there was flurries starting to come down and stuff like that. So it's still pretty chilly up there. However, on the day that we were out there, it was pretty nice. Other than that, I was just out foraging earlier today, and that's pretty much all I got right now. It's just keep on getting out there and being repetitive and being consistent being out there. I mean, sometimes I'll go out there not even just for the research, but it's just to keep an eye on the area to see if there's anything new or anything that's just changed, or just for a nice walk, just get recentered from, all the noise and stuff like that of the world, I guess you could say, So it's just being out in the woods, period, is healing in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's very much, and I always say I like the ground, and you just go out there and you recenter yourself and
Yep.
get ready to go back out to the big world again. So it is nice. It's very nice.
Yes, absolutely. And how about yourself? Anything new with you? Were you a chance to get outside? I know you're super duper busy.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm very busy. I'm actually preparing to go out for a trip to Chicago, Illinois. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be the weekend. Why did my calendar close on me? The weekend, 5th through the 7th. So there may not be a show. I know Gina and I are going to be recording on Monday, so we might hold out and just do our regular show, and I might put that one back for just like a pre-recorded show for the 4th of June. So that way we'll still have an episode to air. So it just depends on how things play out, but I think that's the way it's going to go right now. So look forward to that special monthly show between Gina and I, the Aether Folds podcast. So it's a mixture of her podcast and mine, and it goes more into very supernatural stuff. So anybody who's interested in that, just make sure you look out for that special episode once monthly.
Awesome. Very cool. Good. Excellent. Yeah. Tune in.
yeah, exactly. But we have, thanks to Abe here, we have a great guest tonight. I would like to add to the stage Tim Stover. Welcome, Tim, to the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing, Gwendolyn and Abe? It's nice to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. Glad you're here.
Awesome. I'm so glad to have you here. So a little bit about Tim. Tim Stover has lived in Ohio his whole life. He is the owner-operator of a remodeling company. Tim had a Bigfoot sighting in October of 1992 in Salt Fork State Park. Since then, he has been actively searching for the answers using advanced thermal technology and was featured on the Finding Bigfoot episode, the Buckeye Bigfoot episode in season 2. He has also been a speaker at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. And Tim, you have also hosted Bigfoot themed campouts in the Ohio State Park several times. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
It kept me busy, that's for sure.
It's so glad to have him here. I mean, he also was a host for Bigfoot Busters Radio back in the day as well.
That's right. Blog Talk.
Blog,
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember Blog Talk. Is it even still around?
No, it's not. Unfortunately,
no. It was pretty interesting.
All those shows down the drain.
Yeah. There was quite a few that I liked from Blog Talk, but I never heard yours, so I'll have to go back and see if I can't find them.
If you can, let me know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
They might be on YouTube somewhere. I mean, and I know, Tim, you were talking about the YouTube wipe, where basically everybody's stuff got wiped out. So hopefully that wasn't some of them.
Right. No, it was directly through Blog Talk, but I believe it was 2014 is when my YouTube videos got wiped out. They didn't wipe out my channel, but they wiped out, I think it was at that time I had 908 video clips up on YouTube.
Wow.
And it happened to a couple other researchers. There was one guy up in Canada that lost all his videos too. So, we all knew that YouTube, Google was cleaning up their files, and trying to regain file space and stuff like that. But that's not what they told everybody. Just one day I woke up and all my videos were gone. So.
Wow. I'm kind of curious. Oh, sorry, Abe, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, before we get into the tax and brass, we both have a great friend who's celebrating their birthday today, and we just want to say a great happy birthday to Ed Weiland.
Oh.
Yes, Ed. Yeah, that's right. It's his birthday today. Yeah, happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to add that here for a little while. Birth, if I can spell.
ED.
Thank you. That was the one I was struggling with. How did you know?
Oh my gosh.
There we go. We'll leave it up there for a minute.
There we go. Yay.
Make sure he pops in and sees it.
All right.
Yeah, no, so happy birthday, Ed. So I'm sure he doesn't want to tell his age, but I'm sure he is Bigfoot seasoned. So.
Oh yeah, he is.
I'm curious about these Bigfoot themed campouts that you used to do. Were they very much focused on kids, introducing kids to the idea of Bigfoot, or was it kids and adults? Or because I always think that kind of stuff is interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun. Actually, I think the adults had more fun than the kids did. There were a few state parks in Ohio where once a year I would be the host of a, like you said, a Bigfoot thing camp out weekend, and I would do my presentation at the amphitheater. After my presentation, we'd play like Harry and the Hendersons and stuff like that for the kids. We'd have pizza places that would sponsor all the food, and then we would do foot castings and in the sand for the kids, and it was a blast. I did it every May and every September, and we literally sold out the place. There's people dying to get into the campground just you know to experience the activities and stuff like that. So I did that for probably 6-7 years, and then like we talked about a little bit ago, I was on Blog Talk Radio for a while, and I got my foot in the door in the state park systems just by being a contractor, because I'm also a state vendor. So we do a lot of work for the ODNR inside the park systems, whether it be new roofs, remodeling, additions, pole buildings and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it's just blossomed, over the years. I've gotten a good reputation, within the ODNR. All the officers know me. They know my name, but they just call me the Bigfoot guy, because they know somewhere I'm in the park system somewhere every night. So yeah, it's blossomed for, that's for sure. But I no longer do the camp out theme weekends. My company is pretty much took off and boomed, and so you only have so much time to do so much stuff, if you know what I mean.
Oh, boy, do I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. You talk about the ODNR. I have like this goal that I'll probably never ever actually go for, just to become a Ohio Department of Natural Resources officer,
Hmm.
just so I can just be out there all the time working in the woods where I like to be the most. So
Yeah,
I've kind of played around with the idea, but there's a lot involved, and I've already been through schooling, so like, don't know
there
if I want to
there
restart.
there is, and now if you do that, if you ever do that, there's a possible chance that, see, you're going to have to do a ride along during your training for 2 weeks with the ODNR, officer. And every time the officers that I know are training somebody, they always tell them, one of these nights we're going to find the Bigfoot guy, and they always find me. And so I meet all kinds of new officers coming on duty, because they're activating, they're bringing in more law enforcement into the park systems, which is what we need. Because for a while there would only be like 2 officers per like my entire district for like
Yeah.
4 state parks, and people didn't like that. They want law enforcement to be present in the campgrounds, because you got people that are feuding, you got a lot of sketchy stuff going on inside the parks. And I don't know how many times on thermal I've caught some really sketchy stuff, and it's like, yeah, I won't even talk about it here, but it's, yeah.
Somebody's digging a hole out there, getting a body ready.
Well, you know what people do in parking lots in state parks, so it's like, I'm looking at I'm running my thermal, I'm like, oh nope, I don't want to see that. So yeah.
Cars
no.
going back and forth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your focal point is thermal, like you were talking about. That seems to be what you've gravitated towards. So, tell me what kind of pushed you into leaning heavily on thermal imaging and thermal technology.
Well, I got into that because, years ago I thought, and it really is to this day, although a lot of your Bigfoot sightings are during daylight hours, I believe they're more active at night, like nocturnal animals are. And I've used monoculars over the years, and you can't really tell a lot of times with what's out there in the woods at a certain distance, but with a good high-end thermal you can. And I got into thermal cameras. I probably had 15 different models, and I probably started using thermal imagery maybe 16, 17 years ago. And what I have today is very top of the line. I'm one of them gadget guys, and probably Abe knows this. I got to have the best of the best. If I buy a thermal camera and 2 years later they come up with the upgraded model, I got to get that one or whatever. But I love using thermal imagery. I think that's it. If I do get something on thermal, now I've got a couple videos on my YouTube channel that are inconclusive, but under the circumstances, the area was in, the time of day, the weather and stuff like that, it was pretty, it could go either way. What I filmed. So I don't know. I just think using, over the years too, I used to fly a lot of drones. Well, now in the state park systems, um, flying drones in the federal parks was never allowed, ever. State parks, you could do it, but now they changed that in Ohio. You can't fly them in the state park. So I gravitated away from drones, and I was at the point where I was going to get a thermal drone. But the reason why I didn't do that is I've talked with so many people over the years, and I've had plenty of drones. The problem is flyaways. Flyaways occur to either a computer malfunction, but mostly due to solar flares. And you get solar flares multiple times a week, and you're not supposed to fly during them times. Long story short, if I buy a drone and put a thermal on it, and I have a flyaway and I can't find it, it lands out in the lake or something like that, I got thousands and thousands of dollars down the drain. So I'd rather have the thermal in my hand and not up in the air, something that I can't physically control.
Yeah, that's a very expensive loss. So I totally get it there.
Yeah.
And I see people spend just a ton of money, hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars on nice drones. And I'm like, but they crash all the time. They do. I see them crash them all the
Yeah.
time.
And
Especially,
I've crashed mine before. Now that's why I went to handheld thermals. I'm like, no, I'm not putting up nothing up in the sky. The thermal I'm using today, that's $8,000. But
right.
I control it in my hands. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So it's like, okay, no, I can't do that anymore. So
Yeah, I do get it though, because like when you're out there in the dark and you're hearing these things around you, it's nice to have a thermal ready to just be able to see what you're hearing and off in the distance, because there's so many
yep.
times where you hear big steps and you're like, okay, that's something to listen to. But then you pull out a thermal and it's just like a deer stomping around or something.
I, you
So
know, yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, 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 go ahead.
No, Gwendolyn, I am so glad you brought that up because, excuse me, over the years, I have slowly lost, I wouldn't say friends, I would say acquaintances, other Bigfoot researchers. And and just hear me out on this. This might sound crazy at first, but you'll get the idea. As I got into thermal imagery, I started to slowly lose them acquaintances and people that I used to hang around. It's sad to say, but when I have a thermal camera like that, they know I have I have the truth in my hands. So we're out on trails and they hear something walking and they don't know what it is. They want to believe it's a Bigfoot, but I'll be 50 yards up the trail and I'll be like, wait a minute, guys, I'm coming back with the thermal. They don't want nothing to do with that. So it's sad that a lot of people want everything to be Bigfoot. And it's just really weird. A lot of people aren't like that, but a lot of them are, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up. I take this in a scientific approach as much as I can. I want to use technology to help me eliminate all other possibilities first before making judgment. And I don't know how many times I'd be out in the woods over the years with people that didn't even know anything about nocturnal wildlife. They didn't know what raccoons sounded like at night. A fisher cat, a bobcat, stuff like that. And they always wanted to consider that can be a Bigfoot. And I'd be like, no, that's actually a bobcat is what you're hearing. And then you'll have another person go, well, Bigfoot can mimic a bobcat. And you're back at the beginning again. You're like, okay. All right. Just whatever you want it to believe to be, you can do it, So, yeah, but I'm glad you brought that point up. Abe knows what I'm talking about.
That's one thing I admire about Tim is not, he's one of Ohio's most prolific researchers in my mind. He's like a big brother to me. And he is self-disciplined. He will go through the list of what it could be before he even says maybe it's Bigfoot.
Yep.
And I think that discipline has been lost in some of the most recent years, where, as he just mentioned, a lot of people just want to say, oh, you know, maybe that knock, maybe that scream, maybe that howl was mimicked by a Bigfoot or was produced by a Bigfoot. When there's a logical and reasonable answer to what is taking place. As far as them hiding or getting on the ground and disappearing or cloaking themselves, there's logical explanations for such behaviors. We're only seeing one side. And yes, they can disappear pretty fast. It doesn't mean that they're invisible or they're cloaked or anything like that. If we take a look back on what we do know of hominology or primates, is there a human or a primate that can actually cloak? So, I
Right.
mean, I know Harry Houdini, he might be able to disappear, or Chris Angel, but as far as a human being able to turn invisible or something like that, or a primate, a known primate or great ape, I don't, as far as, and maybe if somebody's out there that can prove me wrong, I'm open minded to it, but I don't think there is any kind of evidence of a human or a primate being able to have those abilities. And his again with Tim's self discipline, I mean that's something that people not people should have more of while they're out in the field conducting research. Not everything's Bigfoot related.
Absolutely, absolutely. But speaking of mimicking, because Tim, you brought that up. What are your thoughts on that? Because I hear so many other great researchers say that Bigfoot can mimic other animal sounds. And I myself have heard very interesting versions of what I normally hear out in the wilderness, especially at night, that just don't sound right. And it goes from one animal to the next. And it's just very interesting to me. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's even a possibility?
Sure, it is. I do think it's a possibility because look at our known animals. Certain birds are able to mimic and imitate other birds, and creatures like that. So it's a possibility for sure. Um, Now, the capabilities of this Bigfoot or what it is, I don't know. As years go on, it's like I have more questions than I've ever come up with answers. People ask me, what do you think Bigfoot is? Well, I know what I saw in 1992. I don't know what it truly is. Is it alien related? Does it have a connection to UFOs? Can it um, morph in, go through portals, come out of portals? There's so many things going on these days that, like Abe does. I want to keep an open mind, but when I'm out in the field, I want to use the common, how do I say this? The common sense and an approach to science, to back up what I'm looking at, what I'm hearing, and stuff like that. But like you said, Gwendolyn, there has been times where I've heard like coyotes, but in between them, you hear something a little bit different. It's like that doesn't sound right. There's been once or twice where I've heard an owl that really didn't sound like an owl. It sounded like it was coming out of something big, something big with lungs or something like that. But as the mimic sounds and stuff like that, yeah, I think there's a possibility because other animals can do it. So why can't Bigfoot?
Right. You can tell we're both from Ohio because that's the same two examples that I have that I've personally heard is owls, the strange owl sounds, and the sounds within the coyote yips. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think there is something to that for sure. Abe, what are your thoughts on it? I can't hear you. Sorry.
There we go. I got to unmute myself. Yeah, absolutely. I think the capability is absolutely there. If we're talking about a hominid, or, something that has the homogeneous, absolutely, I think the capability of them having the capability of speech being there. And from what we would have had Scott Nelson on the show, we were talking about the Sasquatch phonetic alphabet and these different syllables that are being put together. Then why can they not? I mean, we can mimic different animals. My team member Pops, he can mimic a wolf. And we can do these different howls. So if we're talking about a hominid on the homogenes spectrum, then I'm sure that they have these capabilities as well. Even birds, for example, like parrots can say, Paul, you want a cracker? Or pretty boy, or kitty, 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 right? So if we're talking something that has um, a larynx and a vocal cord, a vocal tract, then why could they not mimic something, especially when they're out in the woods with them all the time?
Right. Right. But just like with a parrot, it doesn't quite sound right. It doesn't
Right.
sound like a
Mm-hmm.
human,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not coming from a human. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of cut back, Tim, to what you were talking about with the whole scientific thing, because I agree with you. I think it's great to go out and have an open mind and not cut off certain possibilities. But I also think that coming at it with a scientific mindset is also a good thing. Um, but I've been disagreed with this in the past, but I always say that everything that's going on has a scientific base, because when you look back, the things that we do now as far as science concerned would have been magic 150 years ago. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So us to us now, it seems a lot of this seems very paranormal, but maybe someday we'll realize the science behind it.
Oh, exactly. I mean, like I was saying a few minutes ago, it could be paranormal, it could be alien related. I just don't know. And like I said 1,000 times to people, I have more questions now than I did before. So I don't know. Then you read all these reports and you listen to shows over the years, and the credible people that's out there, and they'll say something like the Bigfoot was there 1 second, the next second he's gone. When I first used to hear stuff like that, I would laugh at it, but now not so much anymore.
Yeah, I know. And I really like, I am torn. Like, is Bigfoot camouflaging? Because I hear people talking about, like you said, the footsteps are there and then they just disappear. Or is it one of those situations where, somebody takes a picture of a deer from far away and a lot of people will never even notice the deer in the picture? Or is it one of those
Yeah,
types of things? So I'm really torn on it.
exactly. I get you, and it's okay to be torn on it like that, because I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I just hope one day we figure this all out, like you said. It's
Yeah.
weird, and I've before I found footprints years ago. I don't look for footprints anymore, or stick structures, or anything like that, because since my sighting, I'm a knower now. I know these things are out there. I know they're real. I don't know what they are, but looking for footprints and stick structures and stuff like that, I don't even look it for them anymore. Um, because I already know they're out there. And years ago, when I would find a couple set of footprints, that would be all you would find. It's like, where did it go? It was heading in this direction. There's still earth up that way where it can show a footprint, but it's not. Where did it go? So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So we have somebody from Iceland, which is really, really cool. So welcome to the
Nice.
show.
Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw that there. Very cool. So what do you think, Abe?
You know, I think they're aware of where they are leaving footprints, and they might even know by now, after decades of people being out in the woods trying to track them down. They I think they're also aware of their substrate, and where there is one footprint right here, you could go a couple inches over and not leave a footprint as well. There's a difference just in a couple of inches. It could determine the hardness or the softness of the substrate as well. Um, I think that they may have the ability to walk lighter. I mean, if we wanted to walk lighter, we could walk lighter versus going out and put our weight with each and every step, which would cause more of an impression versus trying to walk lighter. But then again, if we're on something that's really saturated with water, then we're either way. I mean, if we step in a mud hole, we're going to leave a print or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I too have heard of just one footprint, but then it also makes me wonder, like, oh, were they aware that they stepped in a place that's highly visible, and do they leap to a tree, and can they leap from tree to tree too? Um, we just got stay out there. And again, there's a lot more questions than we have answers, it seems like.
Right. Unfortunately, you're
Yeah,
right.
and it feels like after decades and decades and decades that we, in some instances, we're still at the tip of the iceberg, and there's this under the water and everything's just a whole big mass that like don't understand, and I like how you said, what the technology that we're using now 150 years ago could have been explained as magic or paranormal. And that's why
Exactly.
as a researcher, it's always I've said this for many, many, many years, that the moment that we close our minds off the possibilities is the moment that we lose our mind, I guess, or even being called research. We're not doing research correctly if we're closing doors on possibilities. And again, with research is something, and a scientific aspect is doing something and repetitively for testing and possibly getting the same or similar results.
Yeah, exactly. Not to get off subject a little here at all, but well, maybe it's still on the same subject. Going back to thermals and the thermal cameras that I use, what's ir- what's irritating me a lot is what I see on a lot of YouTube channels for people with these entry level thermals. I get it. If that's all you can afford, that's good, because it will tell you that there's a heat signature out there somewhere. You're just not going on entry level thermal, you're not going to get the good resolution that you need. But so many people out there are claiming so many things. They're obviously deer. And the reason why I know this is, like I said, it's been 16, maybe 18 years, somewhere around there, since I started using thermal imaging. I have recorded thousands and thousands of hours of video. I use my thermal cameras on almost a nightly basis. And some people will say, no, that's impossible. No, you don't. Well, I do. I live alone. I'm single. My family knows I go out every night. My best friends know I go out every night. Stacy Hostetler, my best friend, he knows I go out every night. And he goes, I wish I could have the time to do what you do. Well, fortunate enough, I live close to a few park systems. So I'm able to see a lot of these people's videos on YouTube. They're trying to claim that it's a Bigfoot, and it's not. I know when something's a deer when it's face at you. There's one guy that has a video where he's showing a thermal video clip of these heat signatures crawling along the ground. Well, he states they're baby Bigfoot, and they're obviously raccoons. So with thermal technology, yeah, it's great for the science, but it also hurt us a little bit too. So you got to pay attention to them low resolution thermals versus the high end thermal,
Right.
and it makes a huge difference. It really does. There's a lot of times where I can see a deer 150 yards coming right at me, straight on. And at certain times, it will look like an upright Sasquatch until it moves its head a little bit. And you're like, okay, that's a deer.
Yeah.
There's a few videos on YouTube. People are claiming, no, that's a Bigfoot stand. No, it isn't. That's a deer. I know it is. I can tell it is. This comes with the experience of using thermal imaging over the years. So, yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you get what you pay for when it comes down to the equipment. For an $8,000 therm versus something that you can plug into your phone and look through your phone like that is a
Yep,
huge difference as far as when it comes down to the graphics and imagery and stuff like that, or even distance in some cases too. Um,
it
so
is.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that you mentioned is years and years and years of using these things. Um, if you started using them in 2009, you're going on 17 years of using them. And I know that because Littlefoot was born in 2009, and 2009 is when we first met at the OBC.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and that's something that you only gain that knowledge from trial and error and actually getting out repetitively and consistently and using your equipment and gaining that knowledge and in doing so. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it versus somebody who goes out maybe a couple times a month, if that, and says, "Oh, hey, look, and there again," and that comes going back down to not everything that was Bigfoot. A lot of people go out wanting to have something happen that is they can see is Bigfoot that they are, and it's not, and Tim mentioned it, yeah,
Yeah.
he's lost a lot of friends when he's got the truth right there in their hand and they're just like, oh, whatever, we want it to be Bigfoot. It's not Bigfoot all the time.
Right. And yeah, I'm not joking. You know, is what you said it right there, Abe. I have
Yeah.
lost so many acquaintances like that, people that I've known over the years. Because I mean, and they were good, decent people too. You know, I
Yeah.
can't call them liars, or I ain't gonna say anything bad about them. But once you get advanced technology in your hands and you have the truth right there, they don't want to go on trails with you anymore. It was like, yeah, as each year wouldn't go on, my friends were like dropping off like eggs off out of the nest. You know, I'm like, okay, all right, here's what it is. But
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, you clearly have some great evidence because of all the years you've been doing this. So, tell me about some of the compelling pieces that you've done with your thermal.
well, that would be the two videos that I sent Abe. I sent him the links to. They're thermal videos. They've both been taken within the last 2 years, and I never claim anything's a Bigfoot. Like I said, I've got thousands of hours of video footage that I've never uploaded. I'm like, no, that's a person at that distance, because with a good high end thermal, you can tell the clothes on a certain, you know, on a person at hundreds of yards away. You can tell when he has clothes on.
Yeah.
These thermal videos, one was in almost down by Wayne National Forest. It was it was on a rainy day. It was cold. It was in the 50s. And I love going out on days like that because who's not going to be in the park systems? Most other people. They're not going to go out hiking in the woods and stuff like that. It's a crappy day, right? Them are the days I like to go out on.
Yeah.
And up here in Northeast Ohio, I got a video clip. I think it was in the spring of 2025. I stepped out of my vehicle because it just stopped raining, and I seen this dark subject at least 200, I can't remember what the yardage was on, 260 yards away, something like that. And if you watch that video, the subject's upright. You can tell it's bipedal. It walks away from me, and it's all one heat signature.
Hmm.
There's doesn't You can look at that video and zoom in on it, which MK Davis has helped me with. He's analyzed my videos. He's helped enhance them a little bit so you can see things better. He told me, he said, Tim, there's no clothes on that subject. I said, I know. He goes, what'd you see when you turned around before you got the thermal record? And I said, just a dark silhouette. It was 200 something yards away. And I
Oh,
immediately
wow.
pushed the record button, and that's when it took off, just walking back into the wood line. It's
Oh, man.
inconclusive, but
Yeah.
I uploaded it because truly I believe it could have, there's a high possibility that was a squatch on both of them video clips.
Yeah. And we
So,
have those. We actually
yeah.
have those to share. So,
Okay.
the one that starts with the video of the woods, we're gonna go to that one first. So, let me
Okay.
get myself prepared here. Hopefully, not everybody's looking at my mini tabs. So, we'll start with this one.
For him to disappear for a second, then reappear on the thermal.
I'm
Oh,
63, and
nope, we don't
today
want
I'm
that.
trying Tai Chi.
That video still gives me
Wait,
the
where am
chills.
I?
Well, maybe she was in the video. No.
Maybe. That was a good one.
I was like entranced by the music. It was like it drew me in. That was a really well done video. So kudos for that. But wow, that
Yeah.
image is definitely bipedal. There was no clothes. I mean, you can tell on thermal if there's clothes on
Yes.
something. You can see that detail. You can see all of that. So that was very, very, very compelling. I love that video.
Yeah, it still get now. There's a longer version that MK Davis helped worked on it or whatever like that, but that still gives me chills because now I remember, as you said in the video, it was 267 yards away. That's a long distance, and it only lasted maybe 10 seconds or something like that. But I do remember when it went into the wood line, it started to come back up in the wood line and was just standing there looking at me. But with my thermal that I took that video footage with, any other person at that distance, 400 yards, 350 yards, it does not matter. You can tell a hat, you can even see a belt, what if they're wearing a t-shirt, a coat, whoever or whatever that was didn't have any clothes on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's wild. That's wild. So now I'm excited to show this other one you brought. So let me get myself ready again here. All right.
That is bipedal, man. It's moving. Oh man, damn it. Freaking heart's right there. It is. That's so far off. Oh, come on, don't do this. Where are you? My freaking heart is racing, man. That was bipedal. I wonder if I should move down the road somewhere.
Wow.
Wait. Pump up my amplification. Oh. Damn it. Wow.
So I want to go back again because one of the first things I notice when that comes into frame is the bend of the knees, the distance between the steps, and the sway of the arms. So I'm going to play that again.
Yeah.
Very much Bigfoot like. See the way it bends its knees. It's very much like the Patty film.
My adrenaline was pumping right then.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And that video was analyzed too by MK Davis, and he said the exact same thing. The movements, there doesn't seem to be a bit of clothes on that. Now that was a longer distance. That was like 360 something yards. I forget what it was. But
right here, yeah, you can see the arm swaying as it makes its turn. You can see the arm swaying, just this big sway to its arms.
Yeah. It was very difficult trying to hold on target with that thermal with that thing. But that was another really bad day. It just got done raining. I was way down in the bottoms then, came around a corner, and I forget, I was coming around the corner, my headlights just kicked on. And at that distance, I can see something moving first. I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? Let me get my thermal. It could have been a deer or bear or something like that. I didn't know. But once I zoomed in on it, I knew whoever or whatever that was bipedal. And you can tell people all day long, you can say, well, I was in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't in the middle of nowhere. The only time somebody's going to be in the middle of nowhere is maybe like you get dropped off from a charter plane in the middle of British Columbia or something like that. It was a desolate area. There was nobody down there that I can see because I was traveling up and down them bottoms for hours and I didn't pass one car. You don't have any cell phone signal down there. Never seen another vehicle. And I just got done raining. That was a horrible day. I'll never forget that day. It's another day I wanted to go out again with my thermal into that park system because I knew there wouldn't be much people out there. And I saw that up on the hillside. There was some pine trees and stuff like I remember that. But the movement that it did it just blew me away. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna send this over to MK and let him, analyze it and see what he thinks. And I'm like, I'm gonna upload this, because I can't determine. And he said another thing he said about that, whoever it is does not have any clothes on with the specs of my thermal. And he knows what thermal I have. He knows all the specs on it. He goes, yeah, it would have showed clothes. There was no clothes on it. So yeah,
That's
I,
wild.
I was pumped that day. So
That's some great, great, great thermal footage. Go ahead, Abe. I can see you itching to say something. Oh, well, I can't hear you.
Okay, from over 300 yards away, and you're
yeah.
picking up that figure. That's
Mhm.
that's huge. It's big. I mean, if you were to do a size comparison with somebody our size at that distance, we would probably not even. We'd
E-
probably just be a red dot. But there's so much detail
Exactly.
here. Yeah,
Exactly. That's what MK said too. Everybody has their different thoughts on MK, but when you need help on something, he's really super good with that stuff. That's the same thing with my focal length, the zoom. I told him all the specs and all that. The distance, he said that thing was huge at that distance.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely, and especially from being able to pick up the knees, the bending of the knees, the swaying of the arms, the head and the shoulders, it turning. Again, if that was a human, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be just like a little speck or something like that compared to what you picked up. So what it is something non non Homo sapien.
Right.
Oh no, I
Yeah,
love
there's been a
that.
few videos, but like I said, over the years, I've gotten so many people, on thermal, and you can definitely tell it's a person. I mean, you can even tell if they have boots on or tennis shoes with the thermal and stuff like that. But when you get an image like that, that shows and no signs of clothes or shoes or hat or anything like that, it makes you think. So,
Oh yeah, that was great. That was some great, great footage. You do have a question from the chat, from Mitch Sandman. He wants to know if Bigfoot can blend into natural landscapes like trees and such.
well, if that's a question for me, yeah, they can, and that's why I use thermal imaging. It even works during the day. Everybody knows. Abe knows. When you're out in the woods during the day, especially during the day, there all the trees are dark. There's dead logs everywhere, debris, and everything blends right in. How many times have we been out in the woods and we've walked right past a deer and didn't even know it until they winded us and made a noise?
Yeah.
So yeah, it blends in. That's another reason why I use thermal. It works during the day or night. It doesn't matter what time of day. And that's how, well, I go fawn hunting every May, and I'm going to start it here in about a week or so. No, I'm not going out to kill deer. I go fawn hunting. And years ago, back in 2007, I volunteered for one of these state park systems to help them locate fawns with my thermal. I would radio to them, and they would come and tag it. And once I would locate the fawn, I'd either hold it down gently, radio in till they come, because they're doing some kind of study or whatever like that. But the only way I can find them fawns was with my thermal. So that's why they invited me to be a volunteer. And I remember one day I found 4 fawns with the thermal camera, and everybody else walked right by them. So yeah, that's fun doing that.
Yeah. I mean, in the woods, I've almost walked right into them. Like,
Yes, exactly.
because you're walking through this thick brush and then all of a sudden you spook them just as much as they spook you, and then they take off running, and you're just like, just don't trample me, because deer can get mean. So
Right. Where I find fawns all the time, and something to look out. The wild ferns, the green ferns, they'll lay right in the middle of them every single time. So
yeah,
yeah, I had somebody a couple years ago when I was fawn hunting. I did a couple YouTube videos, or maybe one. I was showing, yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. It shows where I walk up to the fawn and stuff. Like, somebody come in the comments section and just started ripping me to pieces. You can't touch it like that. The mother will reject it. I'm like, no, this isn't a bird. And a
Yeah,
lot of birds don't even do that.
they don't do
No,
that either. Yeah.
no, I used to be part of a tagging program. I volunteered. The mamas do not reject the babies because you touched them. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I do want to ask, and I'm sure you're tired of talking about it, but I mean, I have to hear about your Bigfoot experience. Like, can you go into depth with that? Like, what happened? I know you were Salt Fork, which is a huge Bigfoot hotspot. I mean, not so much anymore, but tell me a little bit about it.
All right. Well, okay. I planned a hunting trip back in October of 1992, bow hunting. It was the first Saturday of October, from what I can remember, because that was opening day of bow. That was a day my buddies couldn't go. I think they had hangovers. I don't know what it was. They never woke up in the morning, but I did. Got down there probably about 4 a.m. So there was a lot of time before the sun would even rise. Got out of my car, walked into the woods with my red flashlight, found my tree stand. My tree stand was probably about 100, yards in, off the main road, not that far. And got up in my tree stand. Sun come up. It was cold, but then it started getting warm. Didn't see anything for a while, but probably around 10 a.m., I seen a little bit of movement. It ended up being, no, it was around at sunrise when I heard some commotion. Well, it ended up being turkeys roosted in trees. That's the first time I found out. Being a deer hunter, I never knew that wild turkeys, roost in trees during the night. When the
I did
sun
not
comes
know that
up,
either. Makes sense.
yeah, they do. I hope there had to be like 6 or 8 of them. They all just come flying down to the ground. Scared the hell out of me. But I stayed up in that tree stand all day. Probably it wasn't until around 4 p.m., 4:30. Still had at least 2 hours left of hunting light, but I was so exhausted. I was so sore because I never took a break during. I just stayed at 12 feet up in that tree stand for at least 10 hours. I'm like, I'm gonna get down out of this thing. I am done. I just want to go home. It was a long drive. It's a 100-mile drive for me to get back home. At that time, I undid my plastic safety belt. And when I undid that, I heard some brush moving. I don't know if it was something stepping on sticks or a stick breaking or something like that. I immediately thought, that's a deer coming. Hey, I'm going to get me a deer. Sounds like it's coming right at me. Put my safety belt back on, grabbed my crossbow, brought it back down, bolts in it, it's ready to fire. And I'm looking down this ravine, and I can see the brush move. It's real heavy brush and stuff like that. I can see it moving, danced around a little bit, but I couldn't tell what it was. I couldn't even tell if it was a deer or anything like that. And finally, it was coming up this incline. And when I first saw it, I was thinking, there's a homeless man out here walking straight at me up this ravine, probably 40 to 50 yards away. And as I can see more of its upper body, I knew at that time, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Excuse me. That's doesn't look like a homeless guy. And what really confused me about it was I can see from the waist up, it was a gray color, like a white gray. And back then, I knew about Bigfoot, but I never talked about it. I wasn't interested in Bigfoot back then. I started thinking, could this be a Bigfoot? What they're talking about? But it's gray. It's not black, what I thought Bigfoot was supposed to be. And it stopped, and we're looking eye to eye. I do remember my legs shaking. My legs were shaking so bad because it wasn't a homeless man. It was too big to be a homeless man. And I thought, what if it's one of the Amish guys? Because when I first got into my tree stand that morning, over on Route 1, which is probably a mile away from where I was, echoing down through the valleys, I can hear car doors opening and slamming. Well, that's a bunch of Amish guys getting dropped off, by the driver so they can go into the woods and start their hunt. I'm like, no, that's not an Amish guy. And it comes through the brush a little bit more. I can see more of it. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And it stops, and we're having a stare off. I'm not sure if, because I know I was making a little bit more noise, and it's been so many years, you forget the details, but I remember it stopping and looking in my direction, but I couldn't tell if it was looking up at me into my eyes because I was 12 feet up, or just looking on the ground because I don't know if it smelled me or the noises I was making with my safety belt, it startled it. It startled it, and it knew that was not a natural noise in the woods. And this might have lasted 40 seconds. I don't know. It seemed like it took forever. Good 40 seconds to a minute or less. It happened so fast. It just turned around and just walked away from me. Started going back down that gully there. And I know I've watched documentaries over the years, and there's a couple cases where the guys that actually say they can see the muscles flexing in its back underneath its hair. That's what I saw. And when it was walking away, it's like, that can't be a monkey suit. That's a huge hairy person. I don't know. But the most vivid thing I remember about that is not the actual sighting. It's once I got down out of the tree stand. I can barely get down because it's one of them you got to pump it up to, climbing tree stand. My legs were shaking so bad. When I got to the ground,
No.
what I remember the most is me walking backwards out of the woods, because whatever that was, it terrified me. I'm holding my crossbow and I'm trying to look back like this, walk and see where the trail was to get back out. And I didn't want that thing to sneak up on me. So I finally made it back to my vehicle, got in there, sat a little bit, put the crossbow in the trunk, and drove home. And what I did not do was tell anybody for 10 years. There was no way I was going to tell my hunting buddies, hey, I think I saw a Bigfoot. Didn't tell them anybody for 10 years. So that's when it all started in 92. And from that day on, I might have hunted a couple more times, deer hunted, but I remember going to rent a center and renting a video camera. You know, one of the big ones you put on your shoulders? And I remember my wife at the time asking me, well, you're going hunting. What are you taking the camera for? I was like, well, in case I want to film some deer or something like that. And it wasn't until 10 years later that I got busted. I said I was going hunting, and I shit you not, I actually forgot my crossbow. I got the camera, but I forgot the crossbow. I can't remember what park I went to, but got back home and she's just staring me straight in the face. And she goes, how'd hunting go? I said, I didn't see nothing all day. She goes, how are you supposed to get a deer if you don't take your crossbow? I'm like, oh.
Her mind was probably going elsewhere.
Yeah. It was going elsewhere. It was going elsewhere. Who are you seeing? What's her name? Yeah. So that's when I finally got busted. But yeah, I was
Bigfoot.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my sighting. And from then on, it's like looking for the answers. So, and I can't find them yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah. We may never find it in our lifetime, but it's the mystery and the excitement of the search that's also just as exciting. Like that, it makes it worth it. And it's nice just being out in the woods.
It is. It's fun. It's relaxing. It's therapy. I really enjoy it. So, yeah, but I mean, that's how it all started in 1992. And I've been doing this ever since. And,
that'll do it.
Go
ahead.
There's a lot of benefits. I mean, when I'm a state vendor, do a lot of work for the ODNR. So you get, like I said before, you get to know all the officers and stuff. And there's some things they do tell me every once in a while. I'm not going to mention names. I told them I wouldn't mention their names. And so that's where the benefits come in. I got a special activities permit that's signed by the district supervisor, because a lot of Ohio State parks, you can't be in after 11 p.m. unless you're doing a approved activity. So it's weird how it is. So in other words, if you're just sitting in a parking lot after 11 p.m. inside certain state parks, they can actually come up to your window and question you why you're sitting there. The park is closed. But if you say, well, I'm going to grab my fishing pole in the back and I'm going to go fishing, that's what I'm here. And it's like, okay, I guess you can be here. So it's really weird. It's really weird, but I get a lot of information that way. And before I forget, and this happened in October, I was in this park system in my RV. It's a camper van, and I'm in this parking lot. The parking lot is square shaped. It's like the size of 4 football fields. And coming in, there's only one road coming into this parking lot section, and they got to go around a big curve. Well, I was in the parking lot on the northwest corner, and if you come into the parking lot, you wouldn't see me because I was back a little bit, so you can see the whole parking lot. But I was, in my vehicle back this way, and I can see through the wood line. The thickness of the woods is at least 100 yards thick. I can see headlights coming, a vehicle coming around the curb. This is 11 p.m. at night, and I will never forget this. And the vehicle's coming real slow. I can see the headlights going through the trees. They cannot see me. I'm sitting there in my chair outside of my RV in complete darkness with my thermal. It stops right before it enters the big parking lot. And all of a sudden, the spotlights come on. It's a wildlife officer. And he's pointing the lights into the wood line, on the west wood line. I'm like, what is going on? It's 11 o'clock at night. Then he gets on the loudspeaker and he goes, hello, are you okay? Are you okay? And you don't hear nothing. And then he goes something like, I'm advising you to say something. Are you okay? And then everything goes silent. He picks up speed, comes into the parking lot, goes straight down the middle of the parking lot. I'm still way up in the corner. He does not see me. So he turns around. As he's turning around at the end of the parking lot, his lights hit the side of my camper. And he raced over there. And I know the officer. I just don't want to say his name. He rolls down his window. And I said, dude, what was you doing? Who was you talking to? He goes, and it's a younger guy. And he's going like this. He's going like, ah. He goes, I can't believe this just happened. I can't believe this happened. I'm like, what? I heard you. I seen your lights. I didn't know if you knew I was here. You couldn't see me, and you was on the speaker talking to somebody. He goes, I looked in the wood line, and there's an open area, and probably about 50 yards in, I see this massive thing standing there. I said, did this massive thing have any flashlights? He goes, no. It was like in this tunnel, and you can see all the tree branches as I'm trying to get them to acknowledge if they're okay. It turns around and you can see the just branches going like this, and it just got the hell out of there. And I'm like, what do you think that was? He goes, it wasn't a person. That's all I can say. It wasn't a person. I don't know what it was. It was huge, and as it moved away from me, the tree branches are just going everywhere. So the next day, he texts some of his other fellow officers and tells them about him. Well, I know the other fellow officers. They hook up with me a few days later while I'm out in this park system. Hey, did you hear what so-and-so saw? I was like, yeah, I witnessed everything, and he never knew I was in the parking lot. He couldn't see me. So I wanted to tell that story before I forgot about it. It's something I'll never forget and something he will never forget. And I'm like, wow,
That's
that's
wild.
crazy. Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
it funny
So
how nobody will admit that it's a Bigfoot?
no, he won't. And I still see him about, he does Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays out here. And every once in a while I'll see him. I'll look at him. He'll look at me. He goes, I know what you're going to say. He goes, I'm not going to say it was a Bigfoot, but I know it wasn't a person. And he still don't want to admit it. And I said, don't worry. I'm not going to tell your supervisor anything like that. I'm not going to ever mention your name. I said, and then a couple months ago, I looked at him. I said, now, do you think I'm bullshitting? He goes, no, you don't. I don't. So yeah, that was really interesting.
I love it. Well, he's a young guy, but there
Yeah.
are so many ODNR officers that have never seen something and they think that we're crazy, but they're out there all the time.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting how, some people can go their whole life and spend their whole life in the woods and never see anything. But then you got these other people that go out mushroom hunting a couple times a year and they see something,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm always it's good to be on the side of law or wildlife officers, because if you're friendly with them, they know they know you're good and you're not up to anything fishy or something like that. They're good to have on your side. They will feed you information, and and they are so nice. And every once in a while, they'll stop by my RV. I'll make coffee or whatever, hot chocolate or whatever. So there's nothing wrong with getting on the good side of law enforcement, especially out wildlife officers.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're dying to tell somebody, but they
Yeah,
won't tell their coworkers.
yeah,
That's awesome.
What you said is that it turned away and he could see the branches going. I think that says a lot about how this, if it wanted to disappear, it could have disappeared. But it actually turned around and went back into the woods where he got to see the branches coming back from it going past them too. I think
yeah.
that's kind of good to make a note of that as well.
It's
Yeah,
exactly. He said it was a big, tall silhouette. It was dark. His spotlight, when he was shining his spotlight, he said it was creating a lot of shadows. But this thing was moving away from him, and you see that as he was hitting the branches, they were just swinging back like that. Now I kept asking him, I said, "How big?" He said, "Massive." He goes, "Massive." I cannot believe it. I can't believe you was in the parking lot. He goes, "I was getting ready to call the other wildlife officer to report to him. Hey, I just saw something." But he said, as he was turning, he actually saw the reflection of my rear tail lights, and he knew it had to be me. So yeah, it was crazy.
in this parking lot, is there any dumpsters or trash cans?
Yep, there's two big dumpsters. And matter of fact, the direction that it was moving, I'm actually right next to it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been actively working on this area ever since he told me that. So if he would have come out of the wood line onto the road before it hits the parking lot, if you walked all the way through the parking lot, there's the two big dumpsters. So
Yeah. Easy meal.
Yeah, I was going to say, heading for an easy meal.
yep. And coming right off the water, there's a bunch of deep coves back in here. Yeah, so there's a lot of research, a lot of food, water and stuff like that. But yeah, so ever since he told me that, I've been hanging out here a lot. Haven't seen nothing since, but
At that time of year, are the dumpsters, is there a lot of people that go in and out at that time of year that would actually leave a lot of trash in the dumpsters too for if
no,
they want? No?
no,
Okay.
they can if they want. Now, there's been a
Right.
couple times in many park systems and this park system where somebody's come in and dumped a bunch of rubber tires and stuff like that. But they patrol this very heavily now within the last 2 years since they put more officers on duty and running full shifts now. So they're in and out of here both shifts at least 5 to 6 times per shift. So no, there's not a lot of people, but there is if you're coming down to this parking lot and you're enjoying the beach and stuff like that, you have a right to the dumpsters to put trash in there because you're occupying the park. But as for people sneaking in here, I think that's the question he was asking, and dumping trash. No.
No, I'm not dumping trash. I was just wondering at that time where he had that sighting, if there was actual trash in the dumpsters from people.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they were still there. They get rid of them through the winter. I think November 1st they actually take the dumpsters out and they bring them back in like April 1st or something like
Yeah.
that. So I don't
Yeah.
know at the time.
Okay. Okay.
I just know there was nobody in this area at that time it happened. It was like 10 to 11 at night that it happened.
Going back to 92, now correct me if I'm wrong, on Finding Bigfoot, when you did that episode with them,
Yeah.
did you have something thrown at you in the deer stand as well?
No.
No? Okay. I
Nope.
must have been thinking of somebody else then.
Yeah. No, nothing was thrown at me at
Any
all.
knocks?
Nope.
Just the walking, huh?
Just that
Just
walking noise until I saw it. I didn't smell nothing. I didn't hear nothing other than I heard the brush move and stuff like that. But yeah, that was it.
Right on.
Yeah. With Tim, with you being in Ohio, I'm very curious. Have you ever smelled that very putrid smell anywhere you've researched in Ohio that other people talk about? Because me personally, I have not. I've smelled like a very strong possum mixed with urine smell.
I have a couple. I have a couple times, but I was hoping it wasn't me at the time. But no, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Almost like a wet dog, maybe, and Limburger cheese at the same time. But there's been a couple times where I've smelt something that wasn't right, but nothing ever happened. I never heard anything or never saw anything. But it was smells that I couldn't pick up on because deer. I know what deer urine smells like. I know what fox urine smells like. and stuff like that. I know what bears smell like, that's for sure. And deer when they're wet, I know what they smell like, because you got to remember, I was a hunter for many years, but there's some smells sometimes where it's like I can't figure out what that is. And then the weird thing is you'll be within the same area and the smell disappears. It's like it's gone. What was that? So I don't know.
It makes you think that it's moving.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it had to be moving then. So
yeah. I've never had I guess I don't know if I could call it the luck of smelling that putrid smell, but I smelled something very interesting, and it moves, and it smells like very strong possum smell mixed with urine, and yeah, it was pretty awful. It was only ever smelled it twice, and it was like a couple years apart when I smelled it. So
yeah, getting back on the thermal, do you have my YouTube channel available?
Yeah, actually, it's Ohio Bigfoot. Yes.
Yeah, there's only 2 videos on there. They're called shorts, and they're both thermal imaging videos. And you can see the difference between people that try to claim deer or actually Bigfoot with, like you said, cheaper thermals. And there's my 2 video clips on there. They're very short. One's in green palette mode, one is white. If you would play one of them, because that's what thermal is supposed to look like.
Right. Okay.
You can see the detail. The clarity is amazing.
Get this here. All right. Go over to here.
Look at the detail in that.
Yeah. And that's what you mean by you can definitely tell when somebody's wearing clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen people on YouTube try to claim Bigfoot, of deer that close to them before, but it's just so blurry and blotchy, and it's like, okay, no.
Yeah, you can definitely tell when it's a quadrupedal versus a bipedal.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then we got another one here. Well, it's not playing, but yeah.
Tim, what kind of thermal imaging camera are you using?
I'm using a Pulsar.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, for many years, I didn't want to tell people what I used, because for many years, people were always back messaging me saying, hey, what thermal you got, And I would... Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you can see like the change in the thickness of the coat even.
Yeah. You can see the hot spots, the cold spots, and everything.
Yeah. You can tell the coat's a little thinner here by its neck a little bit, gets a little thicker on top of its neck. There's a white spot there. It's probably got some hair missing. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big difference when it comes to thermal imaging, just like with any other technology or electronic. You got cheap flip phones and you got expensive iPhones and stuff like that. It makes a difference. It really does. And another thing that gets me, to this day, there's still people uploading what they consider a Bigfoot at a distance on video in 480p resolution. That was back in the early 2000s with flip phones. It's like, why are you doing that? And people fall for it, and they're going, wow, look at that. That does look like a Bigfoot. That's not even 480p. That's like 260 resolution. They did that on purpose, because I don't know what you would use to film something in that low resolution today.
Yeah, they lowered it probably through the computer. Probably.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
Reminds you of the red circles.
Oh, the red circle syndrome. I remember them days. I actually had a rule on my Facebook page when I first started it. One of my rules was, I think it was number 3 rule. It said, red circle syndrome is not allowed here. Because that's all you saw was red circle syndrome. I'm like, oh my God. And, if it's not obvious, then it's not there.
Yeah.
Even when they circle it, it's like, okay, that's a tree stump. Well, no, it isn't. That's a Bigfoot. No, that's a tree stump.
You know, it's funny. I had a video where there was definitely something in the background from one view to another. And I was afraid that people wouldn't be able to see it. So I went to circle it and I was like, I'm gonna use bright blue.
Right, change the colors up
It's
on
not
it.
red. Yeah, go to blue.
Did you guys see the crazy video clip I put on YouTube? It's only like 20 seconds long.
Um,
It's called the Rock Squatch.
Let me see if I can find. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me
Play
pull it
that.
up here. Make sure it's not going to play another ad on me.
Yeah. Now tell me that does not look like a Bigfoot sitting down against a rock. I call it the Rock Squatch.
We're going to play it here.
It'll blow you away. I think this is it. Yes, this is it. This will freak you out.
That's cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Stop right there. This freaked me out. There's a rock there that looks like a Bigfoot sitting down, leaning against a tree. I shit you not.
It almost looks like it's left arm and everything.
I know. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me pause this before it goes into another video. No.
Well, it wasn't long, but
Okay.
me and my brother-in-law was cruising down. We was in the bottoms, and he would run thermal out his window. I would run thermal out my window. Driving in the vehicle is really super cold, and we'd only go about 5 miles an hour. And if you point the thermal at an angle, everything's not going by fast. So all of a sudden, that showed up on my viewfinder, and my heart about stopped. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop. And I'm
Nice.
looking, before I get the record button going, I'm like, oh, it's not moving. I'm like, is it a Squatch or not?
That's crazy. You know,
Oh.
going from paranormal world to the Bigfoot world and kind of mixing it up a little bit. That actually spooked me more like it's somebody out in the woods doing some sort of
Yeah.
seance, bent down trying to hide. But the rocks, they collect heat throughout the day and they hold the heat longer, which
Yep.
makes it more visible in all that brush that doesn't hold the heat as well.
Right. Imagine you're looking through the thermal and you got the viewfinder there and everything's moving by real slow and we're just cruising. All of a sudden that thing shows up. I'm telling you, my heart stopped. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. I was like, I got him. It was a rock.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing, but at least you stopped because that would always be playing back in your head. Wish it would have stopped.
Yeah.
Tim, I know a lot of times you're sitting out there or you're staying stationary, but I know you also walk around. When you are out there, do you try to solicit any kind of response? I think you might have done some call blasting in the past too. Do you still utilize that?
Yeah, I do. Actually, probably a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, right before the dead of winter set in, me and one of my friends was going out on the trails hiking. We was taking night vision camera, thermal and stuff like that. We'd stop every once in a while. He's fairly new to this and stuff like that. His name's Keanu, and I'm like a dad figure to him. He's never known his dad or anything like that, and he's got some medical issues. But long story short, I took him underneath my wing. I try to be like a dad to him, take him out camping and Bigfoot and stuff like that. And so we was doing video clips. There was probably 10 of them where we was going out. It was really cold, but we would stop every 100 yards. I'd have him do some knocks on a tree. I'd have him do some whoops and stuff like that, But yeah, well, I still do it every once in a while. That's for sure. Now, come the dead of summer, me and mosquitoes do not get along at all. I hate them things, but yeah, we still do it. I still do it.
Spiders is my thing. Spiders, everybody I go out with makes so much fun of me because it can be the daytime and I will find every single spider web there is to find. Even if they've walked in front of me, I will still hit the spider webs. Like, I don't know what it is.
Oh, I was doing that to Keanu. I was always having him walk ahead of me so he can clear all the webs. It was funny. He never caught on to it, though. I was like, nope, I don't do spiders either. No way.
No,
when you're out there doing your whoops, do you try to do like the Ohio Haul or anything like that?
I don't. I'd have him do it. I'll have him. He said, "What's a whoop?" I was like, "Okay, just go whoop," or you can do
Right.
howls or stuff like that. There was once or twice we had some kind of a response way back in the coves, but I couldn't quite tell what it was. But I'll tell you
That's
what,
good.
like we was talking about earlier, I like doing it every once in a while, especially when there's no mosquitoes out. It, it's therapy. It's relax. It's relaxation. I just love it. I love nature. I always have.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
When it comes to knocks, um, have you got any replies back?
not lately, but I remember probably 12 years ago, I was out with a group of people. Yeah, it was around 10, 12 years ago. And it's the only time it's ever happened to me. And it was the craziest thing ever. We went out at night. We was way back in this park system, deep, pretty well deep into the woods. Not in the middle of nowhere, but we was pretty far in, and we was walking the shoreline because they drained the reservoir, and we all stopped. And I got the idea. I'm like, man, there's rocks everywhere. Good sized rocks. I said, somebody grab a rocks and just hit it like 4 times. So the guy grabs a rock. His name was Chris. I said, just smack them together 4 times. So he does it 4 times, and I could not believe more than 20 seconds later, something in the woods, maybe 75 yards away, knocked 4 times. And there was 5 of us, 5 or 6 of us, and we all are standing in a circle and we're looking at each other. You got to be kidding me. It was probably almost midnight, something like that. And I said, Chris, do it 3 times. So he did it 3 times. We got a response 3 times, and it sounded like whatever was responding was rocks. Waited about a minute. I said, do it again. Do it like 5 times. Did it 5 times. It repeated again. I'm like, I cannot believe this is happening. And they got all audio of it somewhere, and I do too. I got to find the file. But after that, we got nothing. So something was responding to our rock clacks or whatever they call them with the rocks. I'm like, I could not believe we couldn't see nothing because we was way down low. The shoreline wall there was probably 12 feet tall, and it was up into the woods up above us. So my thermal did no good at the time. But man, it was making noise. It was replicating exactly what we did. And after the 3rd time, we never heard it again. It wouldn't respond back to us.
Way cool. Yeah, I remember you had this setup where you had a camera, where you had IR illuminator and everything. Do you still got that? It was like on a monopod too.
Oh, I still got all that.
Yeah.
I actually got a new setup with my other thermal. I'll put it on a tripod, and I'll mount the thermal on top of a motorized pan and tilt remote control. So I can control it remotely, and then I'll stream it into my vehicle or into my RV. So what I did a couple weeks ago, I was on the outside of my RV running the binocular thermals, sitting in a chair. On the other side of the RV facing the woodline that I couldn't see was that setup that was running, and it was streaming back to the monitor over by me. So I wasn't physically back there, just that was, but yeah, I love doing that. It had an IR blaster on it and everything. But that's when I was using the night vision camera. I was doing the thermal that way. So yeah, I like doing little tricks like that. And every once in a while on my Jeep, I got one of them 3-point suction cup mounts that will clamp on the window, and I'll put the thermal on top of that. I call it the portable thermal with the motorized pan and tilt head, and I'll be cruising down the road really slow with the remote, and it'll be pointed this way, streaming to my monitor inside. So I do all kind. I like changing it up, Abe. I love doing different. I love doing things that nobody else is doing. I don't want to do. Sure, I want to go out in the woods on a hike like everybody does, but I like going that extra step, doing something different, trying
You
different
always
things.
have, bro. Yeah.
Uh,
As far as leaving food or gifting, have you had a site that has a lot more activity where you want to try to maybe implement some of that too?
no, I don't, because I know the raccoons will eat it all.
Yeah.
Either that or I'll eat them before I get there. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've went out with groups of people where they would do that. I respect that if they think, but even back then I would say, well, what if a raccoon comes up and eat it? Well, raccoons don't eat peanut butter filled pretzels. I'm like, I want to think
Oh no,
raccoons eat anything.
Yeah,
That's why
everything.
they're like
that's why they
ghosts.
call them trash pandas. I mean, I'm like, okay, but I don't really know. I haven't done gifting in many years. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. I'm sure people get good results out of it, but it's just not in my game, not in my arsenal, in other words.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I think if you're going to use gifting, I think it's always good to have a secondary something there, whether it be an audio recorder or you know it's something inside of something where it has to work to get to it. But raccoons can screw lids off of things as well. So, I mean,
Right.
they're smart enough to do that. So I think it's just to leave it on a stump and walk away and come back and say, well, it's scattered now. I don't really think that's evidence of anything but critters. So I think having like an LDR set up along with it, or wow, brain just broke. Camera.
Right.
Brain just broke. It's been a long day. I worked today too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe there's a way to, if you want to gift food or something like that. But like you said, raccoons can screw off lids. I know over the years I've seen people do different things with peanut butter in the lids or something. In other words, they say the only thing that's going to be able to get in this is something with hands, to turn it off. Stuff. I'm sure that could produce some results,
Yeah.
but that's not to say that it's not me coming up and making a peanut butter sandwich and then screwing the lid back on and walking away. But
Yeah.
yeah, another funny thing is people, they, boy, I mean, for many years they'd come in the group and they'd claim all kinds of stuff. Bigfoot's coming up and sitting on their back porch at night and moving the plants and pots around and decorating and stuff like that. And then you ask them, well, how come you don't have any photos or video? Well, no, it's just personal interactions with them, and they don't like cameras. They're camera shy and stuff like that. I'm not calling anybody a liar, but it's like if you're coming here with extraordinary claims, Abe, what's the next saying? It
Yeah,
requires.
requires extraordinary evidence or proof.
There you
Yeah.
go. And then as soon as you say that, they leave. And it's like I wasn't insulting you. I was
Mhm.
just asking a legit question. And God, some of the things are just like, okay, what you're claiming and what I saw that day in 1992, it terrified me. It looked like it can eat me. Okay, I don't. There's so many thoughts going through my head. It's a homeless man. It's an Amish guy. No, it's not an Amish guy. It's too big. It's a monster. Yeah, it's a monster. It can eat me. I don't know, but yeah, that terrified me there. But and the reason why I was saying that, you hear some people's encounters. It's like a Bigfoot come walking through their campground and they said, "Oh, just go on your way. You'll be good." I'm like, "You're not terrified?"
Yeah.
And then they're picking berries, and the next thing you know, a Bigfoot comes and picks berries alongside of him, taps them on his shoulder. These are my berries, I'm like, what? Are you
So
serious?
yeah, when you described the leg wobble, it brought me back to my own experience, not with Bigfoot, but with something else, where you just like your whole body just does its own thing, and your
Oh,
legs just start weak. They get weak and they wobble, and you just feel like all the blood just leaves the upper part of the body. And you're right. There are some people that don't describe that, and I'm like, how can you not feel that sort of fear when you run into something like that unexpectedly? And you do. You think I'm dead. I'm gonna die here. Like
yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm not saying people are not telling the truth. Maybe there are some polite and friendly encounters and stuff like that. But man, that thing was huge. There's no way. That terrified me. That was a monster. I wanted my mommy, man. I was done. I was done.
And a new pair of boxers too, probably.
Oh, something.
Jim, I got a
Get
couple questions for you, bro.
yeah.
So, first one is, what would you, for somebody who's just getting into this, what kind of advice would you give them? What would you recommend and how they go about uh, doing Bigfoot research and stuff like that?
actually, my number one advice to them is use common sense.
Yeah.
Use common sense. Of course, keep an open mind. Try to approach it in a scientific way. I would tell them, try to eliminate all other possibilities first before you make judgment. You know, could have that have been an owl? Could have that have been a deer? You know, everything you hear and see at a distance, it doesn't mean it's a Bigfoot. But yeah, that would be my best advice to them. Open mind, use common sense, respect nature, respect everything out there. You know, and don't try to jump to conclusions. You know, do the elimination game first. You know, an example would be, Abe, you know this, and Gwendolyn, you probably know this. I hope I said your name right. I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time with your name.
No, perfect.
I apologize, but in all the park systems, there are Boy Scouts, and one of their duties on them camp out weekends is randomly go out in the woods anywhere and build teepees with the sticks. It's part of their program, okay? Because I've seen the program written, but you have people that'll go out there and say, I'm in the middle of nowhere, when really they're 200 yards off the roadway, but they want you to think they're in the middle of nowhere, and they find a teepee structure made out of sticks and stuff. They don't want to eliminate that. Boy Scouts did that. And when we would tell them on the group page, say, hey, Boy Scouts do that all the time in the park systems, they would get all mad and just vanish. So that's another thing, you know, you gotta pay attention to what you're looking for out there, and know, you know, what reasons are as to what you find. Like I said, just talking about the TPs. I've even seen the Boy Scouts doing them things. Now, like I was saying earlier, if you was dumped off in the middle of British Columbia up there in Alaska, where there's 600 million acres of land or something like that, and you find a TP, that might be something to think about. So,
right.
Yeah.
Good answer, bro. Second question. You've been doing this for many, many years now. Is there an end game for you? Do you have a goal in sight or anything like that? Or is this something that's going to keep festering until whenever?
No, there's no end game for me. Like I said, I'm a gadget guy, so that's why I have all these thermal cameras and stuff, because I love to use them. I love being out in nature. So even if I never do get absolute high definition regular video footage or thermal footage up close or something, it's not going to bother me. I'm not going to be upset about it or anything like that. I just love doing it as a hobby. It's, you know, yeah. So there's no end game.
Right on, man.
Awesome.
Thank you, bro.
Yep.
That's awesome. I can tell you're losing light, and we don't want to lose your face. So, and I'm sure you're ready to go out there and get your equipment going. So, I just want to tell everybody where they can find you. Ohio Bigfoot Hunters on Facebook, and then you have your YouTube channel.
Yep.
Yes. And I just want to say, Tim, we got to get together. We're both in Ohio. I feel like we could have a lot of fun just going out researching periodically. And I want to see what you do with your thermal. You'd be talking about, you have your monitor set up in your car, and you know, you got your stuff out on your hood. I mean, it sounds like a really fun setup. I'm kind of techie myself, so I think I'd have a lot of fun watching you work.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Let's get together sometime. I wouldn't mind going out with you, and you can check out all my gadgets.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much Tim for coming and talking with us on the Fold Mysteries. And yeah, as you find stuff, just let us know. We'll bring you back on. We'll share what you find.
You're good. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. You have a good evening.
Thanks.
All right, man. Take it easy, bro.
Will do.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.